Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you were on the lifeboat. Good to see you. I am your captain for today's proceedings. If you saw the thumbnail, people, I'm going to be talking about some stuff today that I have a real struggle with. And we might have had a couple of people in the early boat today say, you know what, man, if you're ever going to do a lot of content, today would be a great day to do a lot of content because we're all struggling a little bit. So I thought, you know what? I've been sitting on this one for a while. I'm into true crime, people. I dig it. It's a genre that I watch. It's filmed from one camera angle, right? The interrogations are real. There's no script. I dig it, right? Jam Jam! See that, everybody? How about a welcome for Jam Jam? This is his first live. It's kind of a big deal. Hunter, I'm sorry to hear that. Can we get some thoughts and prayers for Hunter, man? Hunter goes way back with the boat. Hunter's been with us a really, really long time. Hello, Bayou Babe. Chili Manser, good to see you. All right, so here's the deal, people. I have been interrogated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, probably more than the next person. I've also been interrogated by local law enforcement and people that didn't rise up through the ranks to the level of Fed. And there is a procedure that is done, right? If you're into true crime, then, hey, DJ Daddy-O, good to see you, man. And a one for Charlie Murphy. What's up with Charlie? Please tell me Charlie's all right, man. I saw him this morning. Kind of worried about Charlie. Somebody let me know Charlie's all right? Okay, so here's the deal. When you sit down and if you watch any true crime, there's nobody here that doesn't know what the Reid technique is. We've all watched the Reid technique in action, right? Let me tell you how the Reid technique feels. Right? This is what the Reid technique feels like. You get arrested and they bring you in a room. And the more they want you, the longer that wait at the beginning of the Reid technique. They usually like to go at least an hour, right, with the feds. Sometimes 2 or even 3, just to soften you up. They're going to let you sit in that room for 2 or 3 hours. And they don't tell you what you're being questioned about. They don't tell you anything. So you're in there. It's a very, very teeny room, claustrophobically small room that you know that there's 4 or 5 cameras in. Joseph, good to see you, man. Glad you're here. There are cameras all over this place. The walls are carpeted, the floor and ceiling is carpeted, right? And there's just a chair. Very often they'll have a desk. The idea is they want to break you down. And then they're going to do the good cop, bad cop. No joke, right out of the movies, right? When they walk in the door, one is immediately going to start apologizing to you for how long you've been left there. The idea being to create an instant bond with one of the 2 people. The other they'll allow to be the dick, right? That's going to be the person that nobody gets along with. But the other person is going to say, oh man, I can't believe they left you in here. How long have you been here? Man, let me get those handcuffs off. Have you had handcuffs on the entire time? And then they'll look over at his friend, you know. What are you kidding me? Come on, Tommy. Man, goes over, takes the handcuffs off. You all right? You want something to drink? Huh? Yeah, water would be great, man. Would you rather have soda or something? No, you're good? You sure? Okay. Then they come back. They bring you a little beverage. And all of a sudden, there's a bond there, right? This person looks like they want to help, right? That's the start of the Reid technique. Then what they're going to do is lie to you for as long as it takes for you to crumble and tell on yourself. And I'm not kidding, because if you don't crumble and tell on yourself, you could end up talking to these people for hours and hours, if not weeks. They will keep you in an interrogation as long as they can. They'll send you home and bring you back, or they'll take you to a cell and then bring you back. But the idea of the Reid technique is this. They can lie to you about whatever they want, right? They can tell you that they have evidence against you that they don't have. So they'll walk in and they'll say, all right, Tommy, here's how it is. We got your fingerprints off of a bank, right? We got them. We got pictures of you. We got everything we need. All we want is your side of the story, man. I don't want to see you go away for 50 years. Seriously, that's what you're looking at, man. Serial bank robbery, you're looking at 50 years. That's not what I want to see happen. You're a good dude. You made some mistakes. It's drugs, isn't it? It's about the drugs. You're not doing this to get rich. It's not like you're driving a Ferrari. You're doing this because it's about the drugs, isn't it? And they lay out your own confession for you. All you got to do is step into it. You follow me? They'll lay out the whole confession. Yeah, you're a bank robber, but you didn't do it because you're a bad guy. You did it because you're a drug addict, right? You did it because you're a drug addict, man. That's understandable. But look, I'd be lying to you if I told you we only got your fingerprints in one bank. Your fingerprints are in a lot of banks. By the way, a girl you've been sleeping with has also come in and said a bunch of stuff, man. We got stacks of stuff. They're just assuming a bank robber's probably sleeping with somebody. And chances are I said something to somebody, right? So they try to get into your dome. But now, the Reid technique's kind of out of the bag. Back in the day, we didn't know what it was called, but every inmate knows what it is. And what you do is you wait until they get to the entire end of their whole show and you go, I want to talk to an attorney. And I want to tell you something. People go, well, if you're not guilty, you're still going to get the same routine. They're going to look at you and they're going to say, all right, monk, you're accused of murder. You know this. And we found DNA evidence at the scene that's yours. And you're sitting there going, how in hell is that possible? I don't even know these people, man. Right? I don't know these people. And a very logical person starts to go, they're lying to me, man. There's no way. You don't have it. Okay, good. Tell you what, build a case and I'll get an attorney because I've never been to this dude's house. I don't know who the hell you're talking about. So go ahead and build your case. What if the person they're doing this to has an IQ of 80 or 85 instead of 105? People emailed me and gave me a bunch of crap and said 4 to 6% of people in prison are innocent. How would that be possible? How can that happen? Well, this is how it happens. They're allowed to go in and lie to the person. And they go in and they paint this picture, right? Let's say it's murder. They go in and the guy sitting across from him has got an IQ of 80 something and doesn't really understand the concept of what's going on. But he's got a criminal record. He's probably got 30 arrests for petty theft, stupid things like that. He's been in front of a bunch of police officers. He knows every single time he gets in front of a police officer, he gets convicted. And these cops sit him down and say, tell you what, we have your blood at the scene. I got your DNA at the scene. You think any jury in the world is going to believe that you're not guilty with your DNA at the scene? And that poor dude just sits there and goes, no, any jury in the world is going to think I'm guilty. Yeah. And we have 2 of your friends who said you did it. That person will confess to keep themselves in their head from getting the death penalty or life in prison. Because that's what they're going to say to him. Hey, look, here's what it comes down to. All right, monk? Here's what it comes down to. I don't think you're a monster, right? Because there's only 2 choices. And they give this poor son of a gun 2 choices. There's only 2 choices. One is you get off on this. You're a sick piece of crap that likes killing people. You went in there and had fun taking this person's life. Or maybe we don't know the story. Maybe this dude attacked you as soon as you walked in the door, right? Maybe he attacked your family. Maybe you thought your life was in, but they paint 40 scenarios and they wait to see that. Sadly, the person across from them, not particularly well educated, not particularly quick on their feet, starts thinking, I'd rather get out in 20 years than die. And they're going to convict me. I've been convicted of every single thing I've ever sat in this room over. Why would it be any different this time? Okay, I didn't do it, but he says that my blood's there. Maybe they're planting it, right? Let me tell you something that's frightening, people. You get arrested, they take your DNA, right? You get convicted, they take your DNA. You get to the prison you're going to, they take your DNA. You get to the next prison, they take your DNA. They do it every single place you go. My DNA has been taken enough times. I would imagine you could paint a crime scene with the amount of DNA that has been taken from me. 1 time, that seems kind of justified. 30 times seems kind of frightening. But how do people end up in prison that didn't do it? They confess to things they didn't do. I got a story for you. It's a true story. So I'm in prison, right? And the FBI shows up at the prison I'm at. We would like to talk to Tommy. Well, I don't want to be seen talking to a cop, right? I look like a rat, right? So what is standard operating procedure is you say, I'll go talk to you if I can take my cellmate, right? He's going to listen to this conversation because he's going to have to tell the fellas that I'm not a rat. And the FBI amazingly said, bring him. Bring your cellmate, right? Not tripping. So I grab my cellmate, the 2 of us, and we tell everybody where we're going, by the way. Nothing secretive. Hey, We're going down to see the feds. They're here to see Tommy. What's up? So we go down there, and they come in and they said, I'm going to show you a picture of a bank, and I want to know if you robbed it. And I said, would this bank have taken place during that window of time that I'm no longer being charged because of the crimes I'm already convicted of? He said, absolutely it would. I said, then let me see the picture. So he pulls out a picture of a bank in California, right? I didn't do this bank. It was called a mechanics bank. I guess it's a credit union or something like that, but it's called a mechanics bank. Never even heard of it. I said, I did not do that bank. And he shows me a picture of the guy that did the banks. And I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, it could have been me, a little makeup or whatever. It could have been me. But I'm like, you got my word, right? I can't be charged. I said, that's not a bank that I did. And he goes, okay, all right. He goes, now I got another one. And he pulls it out. There's about 3. And he gets to the last one. And he says, is this you? And I go, oh yeah, this is me. I did this bank. He said, you're 100% on that. I said, I'm 100% on it. Now, you can only see me in the photos. You can't see the tellers. You can't see anything. He says, do you think you could remember anything descriptive about the teller? And I described a couple of things about her that stuck out to me about that particular bank robbery. And he said, okay. And they're writing everything down furiously. And he said, will you sign an affidavit to this? I said, I'd like to know what we're doing, because I'm not going to help you solve every unsolved bank robbery that took place the entire time I've been in prison. That wasn't part of my deal, right? I'm not doing this ever again. Why are we doing this? And he said, because somebody just pled guilty to that bank. My bank. Somebody just pled guilty to the bank I robbed. That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? And the first couple of banks that he asked me about, they were just controls to see if I was going to be BSing. That's really all they were doing. It was like to see if I was just coming down there and playing the game or if I was actually listening to him. But that was the bank I had robbed. And this guy pled guilty to it. And you know why he pled guilty to it? Because he had a huge criminal record, a massive one. And when the FBI came at him, they said, you know what, you got an alibi for that day? And he said, well, I'd been on a runner. I mean, all evidence pointed to the fact that this guy hadn't been asleep in weeks. Meth head, right? At the time. But he figured this was a non-violent bank robbery. Right? There was no violence. He's never had a Fed beef. He's never been in trouble with the feds. He had a criminal history of like 4. And he thought to himself, if I plead guilty with going to the drug program and getting a year off my sentence, right? Time off for good behavior. I walk the line. I could be out in 36 months. If I don't plead guilty to this and I take it to the box and I lose, they could give me 20 years for this bank robbery. And they will, because they're vindictive jackasses that do that. Cut a deal, we'll give you this much time. Don't take the deal, we're going to give you this much time. Because we're sending a message to every other guy that comes through there, you plead guilty. Picture this, you get arrested, right? And you're up against the largest private investigative firm on planet Earth, called the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So if I'm under investigation, right, for a bank that I did in Nevada, and they go, you know what, I think he did a bank in Florida. It's not like if I'm trying to prove myself innocent and there's a witness in Florida, you know what I got to do to try to find that witness? The FBI makes a phone call and calls 30 special agents. You can't fight this. There's no way to fight the FBI. And if that's the fact, the largest law firm in the United States of America is called the Department of Justice. The largest private investigative firm on the planet is called the FBI. That's who you're up against. And when you get your document, it says the United States of America versus Tommy G. Scoville. It lets you know exactly what's up. The weight of this country against you. So this guy pled guilty to a bank he didn't rob. He was in the process of waiting to be sentenced when an FBI agent with a little bit of snap went, I don't think that's him. I think I know who did this one. See, I had a signature, right? You try not to, and you don't think about it. But I never left the building with a die pack. I dropped the die packs in the bank at every single bank I ever did. The die pack always stayed inside. That's a signature. And it's not something I considered a signature because I changed how I looked and I did all of these things. But the fact that I dropped that die pack on the ground when this FBI agent went in and asked the guy to tell him about the bank robbery, and they spoon-fed it to him. They really did. But you bring in other agents, right? Sort of like checking your work kind of thing. And they brought in another agent that was like, so, did they give you a die pack? And the dude was like, nah, I didn't get a die pack. You know, it was all good. Okay. Well, obviously this guy didn't rob that bank. But that's how scared somebody who's already broken the law and has lived that life is of going up against the United States of America, the FBI, and the Department of Justice. Now, if you think that's fair, if they have all that power, then they shouldn't be able to lie to you, right? Jack, who you saw the other morning in my live, Jack was my friend during all of this time, my only friend. Through that entire period of time, that was my only friend that we did every day. We went out together every single day, running and gunning, doing crimes, doing whatever, but we were together all the time, right? And I'm sitting in a room and they're saying to me, Jack's 3 doors down. He just told us everything, right? He rolled on you. He told us everything, Tommy, how it all went down. I said, great. Then do what you do, man. Build your case. And 5 doors down, right? Maybe 1 wing over. They got Jack in a room and they're doing the same thing to him. Tommy said he ain't going down alone, right? He said he's giving you up. If he's going to prison, you're going too. And Jack, to his credit, looked at him and said, and I watched it on video. My lawyer we had all of those tapes. I got to watch my friend interrogated by the FBI about me. So when people say stuff like, you know what, you've been a solid friend to AA Ron, I watched a friend of mine for 8 hours get interrogated by the FBI while they threatened to destroy his life. They got him fired from one of his jobs. He worked at an airport. They drove down to that airport with badges, walking through there, waving an FBI badge at every single person they walked by until his boss was like, hey, man, we can't have you here. I'm sorry. Took 1 day. Gone. So that's justice. And all he didn't have anything to do with any of my bank robberies. Right hand to God. Jack never had anything to do with any of my bank robberies. I did that stuff on my own. That's right hand to God. He had nothing to do with it. But they didn't care. They didn't care. They were going to destroy his life to get me. And the ends justify the means to the FBI. You understand that? Let me tell you a quick story. I don't want any hate mail from any of you. I'm a fan of Sammy the Bull Gravato, the work he's doing now since he got out and he's got a YouTube channel, right? He's fighting this fentanyl thing, which is really a big deal to me. And he seems to be living a pretty stand-up life, right? So I'm not here to pick on Sammy the Bull or anything like that. But Sammy the Bull, by all accounts, if you believe the accounts, killed about 19 people, right? Let's say he killed half that, right? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Say he killed half of that many people. By the way, he basically had to cut a deal to admit to the 19. But let's just say he did 10 or 15 or whatever. The government was willing to give him a 5-year sentence to roll over on the Teflon Don, right? They want John Gotti so bad that they'll take a guy that did 19 murders, right? And give him a 5 or a 10-year sentence, right? To give up somebody that maybe didn't even order that many hits. Who knows? But did the ends justify the means in that? I mean, no disrespect to Sammy. I don't care. I really don't. And I don't care that he ratted in any of that crap. Hell, who cares, right? We live on the street, people. Right? We're not part of that life. What do you care? But how does that make sense in the government's mind? That somebody that did 19 murders, no matter who they're testifying against. Now, Sammy the Bull did 19 murders, right? Was offered WITSEC and got what, 5 or 10 years or whatever he got, right, for that sentence. The guy that stabbed Chauvin, right, gave up 40 gang members and got a 30-year sentence. Why don't you tell me what that dude did? Tell me what that dude did. If Sammy the Bull could do 19 jobs and get less time, what did that dude do that after turning in 40 of his associates got a 30-year prison rip? That one stinks, people. That one stinks. I promise you. That one stinks. By the way, people. By the way, have any of you been watching the news about this Sean Puffy P. Diddy Combs fella? I don't know if you're a fan or not, but I'll tell you what, man. I think that I think we're going to be seeing a lot of information coming out of the woodwork about this dude and about bad behavior. I'm concerned about that dude. I read some sick stuff on the net today. Delta Machine. We've got the same story, Tommy. Good to see people like us make it to the other side. Thank you for your service. Thank you, man. And you know what? Congratulations to you for making it to the other side as well, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. Am I right, Wood? All right. It's a beautiful thing when people get out. It really is. And it doesn't happen very often. It's the reason that we seem to celebrate it. And I know there are people who are never going to forgive me for the crimes that I've done. And I'm not mad at you. I'm really not. You guys send me, I get email, a couple of them a week. It's not a lot anymore. But I get a couple a week that just says, you know what, you're a filthy convict and you've turned it into a paycheck, but I'm not buying any of it. God bless you. Here's what you got to understand, people. The people that are taking shots at you and doing all of that stuff, right? It's just their entertainment. It's what they do to make themselves feel good, right? I sit in front of this camera and I talk to you people, and I have a really good time with it. And if somebody in the early chat says, boy, I hope you're doing a lot of content today, you know what? We'll squeeze some content in, right? And I'm hoping the other channels are going to squeeze some in, and there's going to be plenty of places to hang out all day. Do you know why? Because this is a rugged time of year. We're going to be talking a lot more about how tough the holiday season is. Got a couple of emails from people that said, I know you addressed this, but you can't talk about it enough. And I agree. Can't talk about it enough. But Hunter Haas has been studying some of the interrogation methods. Hunter, I'd like to know what where you come down on this. And I'd like to know where all of you come down on this. Do you think it's cool that they can lie to the suspect? Keeping in mind, that suspect is innocent until proven guilty. Right? And do you know what we celebrate? We celebrate the cases where the cop was so good, right, that he had nothing when the guy walked into the room. But he lied to that guy so good that the guy thought he was so painted into the corner that he collapsed and told on himself. I don't get satisfaction in watching that. Even if the dude's guilty, I don't get satisfaction in watching somebody get convicted because of lies. Or turn themselves in and tell on themselves. How do I know this is not just somebody telling on themselves because they're terrified of what the rip is going to do, right? I'd much rather just, look, I'll be really honest. I pled guilty to a crime that I didn't do. In fact, I may have pled guilty to 2 crimes I didn't do. But one was for an insurance fraud. I never got $1, right? I had fallen in a hole and hurt myself. But I didn't keep up with filling out the papers and doing all the things. But I had interviewed with them, and they had said to me, do you work? And I lied and told them I had a 40-hour-a-week job. And on the last day of the statutes of limitations, they came and arrested me. And the prosecutor sat down and just said, swear to you, I'm quoting. So I apologize in advance. But she said, this is a bullshit case. But I'll make a deal with you. You plead guilty to it today, no time, no nothing. The paperwork's done. You plead guilty, you're out the door. I should have said, screw you. But I was already a convict, so what was one more felony? You know what it was? It was, I didn't get my life in order, and the next time I got busted, that extra felony translated to about 3.5 more years behind bars. But I didn't do that crime. Not that it helps, but once you're in the system, it's so hard to get out of it, man. Delta back me up on that. Once you're in the system, it's hard to get out. Hi, Tommy. Thank you so much for helping me finally get that my mom wasn't addicted to diazepam and temazepam for years, but was dependent on them for issues from her MS-8 8-year-old me. Thank you. Oh, thanks you. Your 8-year-old you. Thanks you. Yeah, it's really, people, this is something that, God, if that comes through, then that may be the gift that the lifeboat gives to humanity. If that comes through, right, there's a big difference. You can't hate people for taking drugs. But if they get addicted to it, you can't hate them for that either. Right? You would never hate somebody for having lupus. Don't hate somebody for having addiction. It's a disease. And if you have a problem understanding that, guess what? Medical science has proven it. It's no longer debatable. It's testable, right? Everything you need for it to be a disease. So if you send me an email that says it's not really a disease, you're ignorant on this subject matter, go do a little reading and come back and then we'll debate it. James Bush says, keep the faith. Check out TGIS verse. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation. But be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. John 16:33. Thank you. Really appreciate you, James, and thanks for being on the boat. I have always said, people, I will never shove my religion down. I will never do that. But I do happen to be a follower of Christ. I'll never deny him either. All right? And I don't begrudge anybody their religion. This isn't the religious channel. All right? So never begrudge anybody any of the religions. There are religions, I think, that destroy families and separate them. When that happens, they're no longer religions. They're evil entities, and they need to be taken apart. That's my humble opinion on this thing. Now, I also think that there ought to be a law against law enforcement lying to people. Right? I promise you, people, they pull that crap with me. It's not going to happen. This is another true story, and this is really funny. So I'm working in the county jail in the intake, right? So I'm just a porter. I'm waiting to go to prison. This is on the bank robberies. And I'm standing there one day, and an FBI agent comes back with a guy they were just interrogating, right? And the guy was wearing gray. Everybody else wears orange. The only people that wear gray are federal inmates. And so I'm standing there, and I'm looking at the FBI agent, and he's the same guy that interrogated me, right? And he comes walking up, and he goes, "Hey, can I talk to you real quick?" And I go, "I bring my friends." He goes, "Just go to the table. I'll talk to you in front of everybody. I don't care." So I had 3 other inmates with me, and one of them was a Fed, and the other 2 were just looking at really, really long state time. But we were the in-house workers. We were never locked down. Our cells were never locked. And we would just clean up round the clock because this is all the people that are coming in and out from the streets puking and just disgusting. But he said, "How long did you get on your sentence? Have you cut a deal yet?" And I said, I'm looking at about 5 years, and then I'll get time off and stuff like that. And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because we interrogated you all together for about 36 hours. He said, "and you never told on yourself. You never slipped up. You never did anything." And I said, "Are you congratulating me?" And he goes, "Would you ever consider maybe sitting down and working?" They sometimes pay people to work through like mock interrogations or whatever to kind of train people. I said, "Are you offering me a job to work for the FBI?" And he said, "Well, it's not like a job." He said, "But they do pay people to come in and do it." I said, "Out of curiosity, what kind of cash does that pay?" And he goes, "I don't know what they do. Maybe 20 bucks an hour or something. You only do it a couple of times." He said, "But they're always looking for people who are really from the world." And I said, "Do you really think I robbed all those banks, man? Like from the heart, you really believe I did that?" And he goes, "I do, Tommy. I really believe you did that." I said, and you think I'm going to get excited about a $15 an hour job working for the FBI? I said, "With all due respect," and it was probably more of a show for the other 3 guys that were there. But I said to him, "Oh, no, man, I'd rather do anything. Anything, right? I'd rather run the mop at a peep show than work for the government, especially in any kind of law enforcement capacity. No disrespect to any of our guys out there that are doing it. I mean it. It's a heroic job. It is. Certainly not one I'm cut out for at all. I would have to get up every day with the thought, I have to go out and catch people. I don't like the idea of me trying to catch anybody doing anything. I'm not made of that, right? I don't understand prosecutors. I don't. I had a friend who was one, and I would say this to him if you were here. I don't understand prosecutors. I don't understand the person that goes to work and thinks, you know what? I'm built for this. My job is to make sure I get that person as much time as I can get them for the crimes that they've committed. There are bad people who need to get put away. I get that. But I don't understand the person who thinks, yeah, that's me. I want to be that person. That doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. Hope that doesn't bum anybody out. I'm just telling you the truth. It's never made a lick of sense to me, to be that person. But I love that people are saying, I'm with you, right? Thanks again, by the way. I'm with you, Captain Tommy. The truth is the truth, and lies are lies. I can't make sense of how, under the truth of the innocent, lies are told by the government, right? I mean, how in hell is this okay? How is it okay? And they do it to people, I'm sorry. They do it to people who are very like Forrest Gump. They do it. I've done time with people. God bless him, man. I'm gonna call him Bobby Hill. I have a photograph I found of him the other day, And this is one of the saddest stories ever, right? I'm not going to lie to you people. I might have been a bit of a wise guy when I asked him, but I said, hey, it's photo day, man. Bobby, come down and take a photo with me. And this guy is on the spectrum, really on the spectrum, does not have the ability to lie. Honestly, he would say things that nobody would admit in public and once people figured that out, they would ask him the most embarrassing questions in the world because he did not have the capacity to lie. Just a type of innocence to this kid. And eventually, the entire prison adopted him. For real. He became a protected species of sorts. But he was in there for calling the place that the commander-in-chief lives in Washington, D.C. on Pennsylvania Avenue, and telling the person who resides there through the switchboard that he was thinking of unaliving him, removing him from planet Earth. They take that pretty seriously since the whole Dealey Plaza thing. And he got arrested and thrown in prison for it. That's what he was in there for. And he was a savant of sorts, right? It was really funny because he'd play cards and these guys would try to get over on him and cheat or whatever. And he'd go, there's a card missing in that hand. Nobody played the seven of spades. And you'd watch all the cheaters at the table being like, oh, damn. Right? Like this kid had an ability to do certain things and not other things. But I said to him, let's go down and get a picture taken because he looks so much like Bobby Hill, right? And when we went down to get the picture, this is a guy who's 33 or 34 years old, right? And he said to me, you know what, Tommy? I said, what? He goes, other than a booking photo, I don't think I've ever had a picture taken of me. Now, you talk about wanting to fall down on the ground and cry. That's a dude that doesn't need to be in prison, man. As sharp as he is with numbers and with all of that, he told on himself. I said to him, man, how did they catch you? And he said, well, they asked me if I did it. I said, and you just told him. He goes, well, I did it. I said, I know. But you didn't even try to say I want a lawyer or anything else. He goes, well, it wouldn't have mattered. I did it. Okay, it's not fair to people like that I get a different defense than he has. Every American should get the same defense, right? But Tommy's slick and street smart, so I get a better defense than Aaron would, right? You get any other street person, right? Person from the street that's never been in the life who ends up on the receiving end of somebody saying, why would you need an attorney? You didn't do anything wrong, did you? Well, then you don't need an attorney. Oh, okay. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. And we're going to lie to you and tell you that your loved ones have already told us you did it. We're going to lie and say things like your daughter said you abused her or your wife says you beat her. And you're sitting in a room like you're in the Twilight Zone going, I worship that woman. I've never touched her, right? I'm the last person in the world that would put hands, but they will tell you any lie they can. And do you think you get a I'm really sorry at the end of it? When they find out you're not the one, do you think I'd get a, oh man, dude, I am so sorry. You know, we had to lie to you and degrade your name and call you a piece of crap and, you know, and a kid toucher because we're trying to, nah, man. How's that okay in this country? How is that okay? How are we okay with that? I'll tell you what, people. I don't have much of a platform or much of a voice, but it's getting bigger. And these kinds of injustices, the things that we do to the people in our society that are disposable, is disgusting. It's disgusting. I honestly think, and I said this yesterday, I think that the FBI and the Department of Justice would have been really happy if Derek Chauvin didn't wake up the day of Black Friday. If that was his last day on Earth, boy, they would have been better off, huh? There'll be no controversy whatsoever to the fact that he can't get a new trial and that case and everything else. It won't be right in the spotlight if he were to have died that day. But what if 6 months from now, a bunch of evidence comes out and they're already saying that this could be happening. And he tries to get a new case and they find out that he can't get a new case. There's no chance for him. He's just going to rot in prison no matter what. That's going to bring a lot of unwanted heat. I got emails from people that say, I still don't understand why they would want him dead. Pay attention. If he's gone, then they don't have to worry about anything else anymore. They don't have to worry about, what if they come out and say, okay, we got some people that say this. Perhaps we should get a new... No, there can't be. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's say this was a different case. Forget Floyd and Chauvin. Let's just say it's a murder trial, right? Just say it's a murder trial and I've been convicted and I already filed my one time for relief and I've been through that. I've exhausted, right, all of my remedies. And then somebody says, you know what? I was actually with Tommy that night. Honestly, rock solid alibi. I didn't want to tell you because my husband was going to kill me if he found out, but he was with me all night long. In fact, we have pictures. Who cares? Doesn't matter. That would have been nice, 9 months, a year ago, but nothing we can do about it now. Exhausted his remedies. Does that sound like justice to you? The inmate's disposable. The criminal's disposable. It's just a fact. It's an uncomfortable fact, but it's a fact. So tell you what, see this one right here? See this one right here, people? You know what this is for? This one's for all of the people who are trapped in that system. Our so-called justice system lost my niece's abuser for 7 years. He was convicted in Pennsylvania, served 12 years, and lost being extradited to Florida. Good Lord. She's finally back in court this week. Oh, my Lord. How unbelievable is that? I wish I could tell you I'm shocked, right? I wish I could. We have the most broken system in the entire world. We really do. We have the most broken system in the whole world. And, I get emails from people that say, well, the system may be broken, but there isn't a way to fix it. There's not? Picture this. And I'm just a stupid convict. But picture this. You remember Max Headroom? Remember Max Headroom? Okay. When somebody comes in the witness box, remove all of their features. Max Headroom, that bad boy, right? Turn everybody purple. Don't let the people listening to the witness know if that person's black, white, Mexican, Indian, whatever. Don't let any previous bias of anybody on the jury come into play. Don't let them see it. Why do we need to see the witness? Honestly, we could remove the color. Put them behind a screen. The problem is win more than justice. Absolutely. Here's the deal. If you're a prosecuting attorney, how do you become a district attorney? By winning a crap load of cases. Putting a ton of people in prison. They brag about the number of years. Have you ever seen these campaigns? I have given out 330,000 years to criminals. Oh my God. Oh my God, you're bragging about this. There was a judge in Reno, Nevada, we will call the Hammer, because she knows who I'm talking about. And she actually she had to go back and start modifying sentences because the word came out that she was getting close to retirement. Her goal was to do 1 million years before retirement. If you said that to somebody out loud, right? If that came out of your mouth out loud, then obviously you're giving sentences larger than what you would have to try to achieve your goal. Holy hell, how sick is that? But these are human beings, right? They're human beings. You get up in the morning as a judge and the egg, runny, disgusting, right? The whites are running all over the place. The yellows are gross. It's a terrible egg. On the way to work, you rear end somebody. Right? You drop a phone, you're reaching down for it. Not hard, just hard enough that the insurance people are going to have to come and you're on the side of the road. And by the time that judge gets to that courthouse, he's so pissed he can't breathe. And he goes over to the Keurig machine and finds out that those little cups, his secretary used the last one in the morning. He's got no coffee. Right? He tries to send one of the people that works for him out to get him a cup, but I'm on the docket at 9 a.m. for a sentencing. And when I go to see him, he hasn't even had a cup of caffeine, and the guy's got a caffeine headache with the day he's had. By the way, add anything else in there you want. He also got a call that morning to say that one of his kids was diagnosed with something. Add in anything you want. But that human being is now going to sentence me. And he's going to be unbiased. And whatever's going on in his life that day is not going to affect me. Right? No. Or if he was a guy that got the crap kicked out of him in high school by the over-dominant alpha male football player that turned criminal kind of a guy, then I am the embodiment of everything this dude has hated his entire life. That's not blind, right? The woman holding the scales, she's blindfolded. How hard would it be to do the same thing to our judges? How hard would it be to do the same thing to our jurors? Let's be really honest. When you put 12 people in a box, you're hoping that one of them isn't a closet racist, right? Or a closet bigot, or a closet whatever. We're hoping 12 people are fairly normal, but we don't know, do we? And a jury of my peers technically would have been people who were shooting dope, because I hadn't talked to anybody in decades. I mean, outside of family, that wasn't a junkie. But 12 people on a jury would have been bankers, lawyers, teachers. They don't live in the world I live in. Those aren't my peers, right? My peers would have understood. It's a really funny concept. I mean, it's better than most. I'm not saying that ours isn't better. But see, the ideals of our court systems are beautiful, but we can't live up to them. It would be better to let 1,000 guilty men go free than to convict one innocent man. But that's just not how it goes down at all. In fact, they don't care. Google police officer planting dope. You've seen the video. Most of you have. You're YouTubers. The cop that got busted on he pulls somebody over, goes to search the car, right? Well, the person whose car is being searched has a camera in it, filming the inside of the car. And you watch the cop take the bag out of his pocket and throw it on the back floorboards. Why? Why'd he pick those people? Right? They did nothing wrong. And you can watch Google it. You can watch the people on the side of the road in tears going, and one of them is the saddest thing you've ever seen, because he said, you know what, man? I cleaned up off of this stuff years ago. Oh, man. Think the judge is going to believe that? If I go to court for possession of heroin, do you think the judge is going to believe I don't have heroin? I wouldn't believe me. Look at the record. What does he have to go by? He's got a jacket this thick of all the things I've done wrong in my life. He hasn't seen the lifeboat. He's not watching what I'm doing. It's very, very easy to get somebody trapped in the system and destroy their lives by accident. For real. Did I meet a ton of innocent people in prison? I don't believe I did. But I met a guy in prison who was in there for a third drug strike federal and only had been arrested twice. I promise you, I'm telling you the truth. His last name is Ice. There are a lot of injustices going on inside the prison system. I wasn't one of them, by the way. You hear that? I got exactly what I deserved. I think they might have been a little harsh. He might have been a little harsh the second time around. I think I got more time than was necessary for the crime. Charlie Mullins, there you are. People were worried about you. All right, Charlie Murphy? I hope so, man. Had me worried about you. Swiss, good to see you. So we're going to be, through the month of December, people, you can pretty much count on the fact that I'm probably going to go live more than twice a day. A lot of people have reached out to me and said, hey, you know what? Why don't I know about Charlie's scan would be a much better question. See, I'm going over to my messages right now to look for. See, I don't understand why I don't know about your scan, Charlie. Nothing worse than being the last person being able to, you're having a scan on your thyroid. Well, tell me of these things. I know the stuff goes by really quickly, but Charlie's got my number. I'm not trying to pick on Charlie, but I do like to pray. Yeah, you know what? Everybody has a past, right? Everybody has a past. Every saint used to be a sinner, and every sinner used to be a saint, right? I mean, there's really a lot to that. There really is. Wow. I worked in the psych department of an FMC for a year. I don't think a lot of those people belong there. Okay. Kristen worked at the FMC is a federal medical facility, right? That's the federal medical yards, if I'm not mistaken. At least that's what it means to us in the feds, would be a medical facility. I think very often, like if you get it, I've told the story. The reason that I was on the unalive watch for that entire month was because they wanted to send me to a regional medical facility of the feds, and I had no desire to go there. Hi, all. Late but here. Tommy's voice has been repeating in my head. Well, I apologize. Harm reduction. I'm looking into getting a vape Friday. Yeah. No more lighting crap on fire and breathing it in. That's the spirit. That's what I'm talking about. Harm reduction. Get the nicotine into your body a different way, right? Harm reduction. You don't have to quit yet. But for the love of God, setting things on fire and breathing them into your lungs is bad juju, right? And by the way, that goes for everybody, right? You don't have to smoke weed if that's your thing too. You don't have to smoke anything anymore. We're getting to a point, excuse me. We're getting to a point where we have better delivery methods, to get stuff into the system. Hello, Christy Covington. Christy Covington. Did we already have have you been here before, Christy? Sounds really familiar. Ice, ice, baby. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Swiss Vape says, way to go. Please know Nick Salt. I don't know enough about one versus the other. You don't have to worry about it, Crystal. I'm not judging you for the SH word. You're all good. You're good. We're not going to lose any sleep over it. Okay, we have a question. People, this is the way to get your question answered, by the way. And Smith, I made a live. We're glad you're here. We're glad you made a live. A couple of people did. First lives for a bunch of people today. That's cool. Question. Do you think that the corporatization of prisons is also a driver for not releasing people who are falsely imprisoned or given overly harsh sentences, i.e. inmate quotas, lobbyists, cash, elected off, payoffs, etc.? Here's the thing with the private prison things, right? So in the feds, there really aren't any. I mean, it gets talked about a lot, and I don't like the concept. The concept makes me sick. I've only stood in a private prison twice. Pahrump, Utah, is a private prison run by Corrections Corp of America, CCA. Before that, they were called Corrections something of America. And they didn't even change the initials. They just changed the name. But they've been CCA 2 different times. But CCA is a private prison company. Do I think that that's sleazy? I do. They handle the transfer center at Pahrump. That's the only thing they touch in the feds. Oh, and a woman's prison in Dublin. That's a private prison. The 132 others are all federal prisons. Do I think that privatization? Yeah, I think that the corporatization of prisons in other ways. For instance, I was working at a factory and I was making uniforms for the Israeli military, for the U.S. military, for the French military. I was making uniforms for militaries all over the world. And those people are paying for us as if we're employees. They're buying all of those military uniforms, and we're slave labor, right? We're slave labor. And we're slave labor that will stand in line for 6 months every day for an hour to be the next person to be accepted into that factory to work at that job for 5 cents an hour. And I mean, work around the clock if you'll let us. You'll let us work overtime, right? I could get, 15 cents an hour? Oh, man, I'll work around the clock. No, truthfully, a really good check in Unicor, a really good check was about $130 for, let's see, 40, 80, 106, 130, 150 hours, right? You might make $150. Might. If you're really maxing it out, you could probably get close to $1 an hour. But that would be after a long time of being there. I think what I was making was probably about 20 cents an hour. And I fought for that job. And you know what else? Q fought for that job. Fought to get me that job. Q had been there for 30 years. Just under 30 years. Thank you so much, Monique. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Ooh, ba-da-ba-da-ba. They put me as a counselor intern running a mandatory drug education class that everyone there had to take who was sentenced to a drug charge. I was like 22. I probably learned more than they did. And I'll ask you this. You were treated with respect there, were you not? I mean, there weren't guys catcalling and saying stupid things and whistling or any of that. I would be really shocked if that happened. If it took place, it certainly was not, it wouldn't have been the fellas. Because among the whites, that can get you really, really, really hurt. Like a beautiful young lady comes in and guys start acting like weirdos, that'll get you killed. Like we really discourage that among the Peckerwoods. That's considered really bad form. In fact, you want to look more dignified, right? The younger or the more attractive, the less the guy wants to look like he's affected. That's kind of our, right? You just want to look like that, and the only people who are going to be kind to you when you're in there, I promise you, the only people who are going to be kind to you are going to be people like Kristen. So we don't want any of those people feeling frightened, and we take offense when that happens in a big way. I've been following here since I saw Tommy on Aaron's channel. I knew I'd love it here. I am an addict. My best friend is doing 20 years in a Georgia pen. Got a lot of friends in the feds from Georgia. A lot of people catch Fed charges out of that part of the country. See, oh no, everyone was absolutely respectful. I had way more problems. I love this. I had way more problems later working in community behavior healthcare. No, I believe that. See, this is a common misconception, so I'm glad that you're here, Kristen. There's no way we would let a guy do any of that crap. Now, that said, there are other races that don't care. But the only one I'm ever going to speak to, people, is the Woods, because that's the group I was in there with. But we don't put up with it, right? As sick as this sounds, you remember the other day when I told the story about me in the morning? I mean, me with the cell phone, fresh out of prison, not doing my taxes. Okay, there are guys that would stand at the window of their cell and wait for people to walk by, and then pleasure themselves. These people are referred to in the prison vernacular as gunners, right? Like pew pew. Gunners, okay? And they will call that gunning someone down or whatever, capiche? Okay, you cannot, if you get caught doing that, it's the end of your life. As a white boy, if you're a gunner, you're done. You're done. That's a killable offense. And for that reason, there aren't any of them at the special management unit, right? They had an entire unit dedicated to nothing but gunners. 3 floors of them that had been busted at other prisons. And I said one day to one of the cops, I said, hey, do me a favor. I said, I'm just curious. He goes, yeah. I said, 3 floors of gunners? And he goes, well, not all 3 are full, right? If they were, it would be 360 of them because it's 120 people a floor. And I said, so how many you got over? He goes, I don't know altogether, but a bunch. I said, what percentage of them are white? He goes, there's not a white dude in any of those 3 floors. Now, it's because it is regulated, right? It's regulated. They will take that person off of the planet if they do that. Oh, he's calling now. We'll tell him to stay strong, right? Stay strong. And how do they justify that? Not sure if I know what we're justifying. I fall behind really, really quickly, people. The mattresses we had were made by the Bob Barker Company. Always wondered if it was the game show guy. Okay, so you did state time. Because in the feds, all of the mattresses are built by the feds, right? All of the desks are built by the feds. So there's a prison somewhere in the feds making all the mattresses. And if I'm not mistaken, The mattress plant is in Terre Haute, Indiana at the FCI. No, maybe it's at the USP. No, it's at the FCI. No, I'm sorry. It's at the USP. To be sure. It's at the USP. But they've got one of them as a factory that just does but in the state joint, everything is made by Bob Barker. In the feds, our soap is made by Bob Barker. Our toothbrushes are made by Bob Barker. Bob Barker does supplies for major industries. Now, you ask any convict in the world and he'll say to you, this is the standard lie. Oh no, that is Bob Barker. His kid went to prison, so he got into the business of blah, blah, blah. That is a lie or a truth that every inmate in the whole world has heard 100 times. I have never cared enough to look up if Bob Barker had anything to do with Bob Barker. But nevertheless, everything does say Bob Barker on it. Too lazy to go to a good vape shop. Rather hit a 50% than go down to 3 milliliters. I love grumpy old bastard. Keep going, cigarettes need to just go. Yeah, you know what? You can do, just go get what do you call it? Juuls. Just buy something at 7-Eleven, right? The little cartridges or whatever. This is harm reduction, right? We're just trying to do harm reduction. We're just trying to cut down on breathing in bad vapors. Also, try the little Zyn. It comes in a tin that looks like chewing tobacco, and it's got a little pouch in there. It's got no tobacco in it. It is to a skull bandit what a vape is to a cigarette, right? There's no tobacco in this. It's just a little pouch of nicotine. And you throw it in your mouth, and then Dubious Maximus speaks the truth. Feds are out of control and no longer held accountable by the people. Do you have a microphone? Go ahead and drop it. Straight up. You got a microphone? Drop it. That's the comment. There it is. Yep, Delta, that makes sense. Everything in the state. I did a state rip too. Everything in the state says Bob Barker on it. Everything. You wear Chuck Taylors, but they're called BBCs. Bob Barker Chucks. Question. I don't know if you ever commented on it. Safe bet I have. But what did you think about that jumpsuit Pablo guy who said he took over a black prison gang as a white guy? Okay, so I will say this. There are people in gangs that are primarily considered black gangs who are not black, right? There are white Crips. There are white Bloods, right? There are white Sereños, and there are white Norteños, and there are people within those organizations who rise up through the ranks and absolutely do that. I'm trying to remember Jumpsuit Pablo. If I'm not mistaken, the guy was at a camp. Am I wrong on this one? Because camp politics, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, right? But if you're talking about what's something that's happening in the dorms are not really, right? You got to be at such a low custody level to be in a dorm. Maybe I'm confusing this cat with somebody else. And if I am, I don't mean him any disrespect. And I don't mean him any disrespect, even if I got the right guy, right? But all I'm saying is that there are different custody levels, right? And if this is somebody that's talking about politicking and having the yard or taking over something and you're at a camp, there isn't anything going on in a camp. If there's a gang member and he's active at any level, he's not at a camp. They're not going to let him anywhere near a camp. The gangbangers are going to be at least at an FCI if they're pulling any kind of anything. Camps tend to be a reward for people that haven't really done a very serious crime, number one, because the level of what you did in your crime, like as a bank robber, I'm not eligible to get anywhere near a camp, ever, right? Camps are for white-collar criminals or guys that get caught with just a little bit of weed, a little bit of dope and have never been in any trouble before, right? Like small amounts of dope, which in the feds is what, a pound or something like that, over 500 grams. Like people that didn't get caught with a ton of dope. I have a very close friend that did time at a camp because he and his mom got caught mailing dope around the country. He pops up in here from time to time, but he did camp time, and I'm a very close friend of his. And we spent a lot of time talking about it. I was at the FCI and he was at the camp at the same prison. And we did way different time. Right? Way different time. He doesn't like my channel? Well, that's a shame. I don't think I've ever talked crap about the guy. But I don't much care if he likes me either. You know, I don't. I don't do that. I don't do any of that stuff. You know, God bless him. I hope he gets a bunch of views. I really do. I don't have any. I don't have beef with any YouTubers. But honestly, I don't know who the cat is. So I'll look him up and see if I think that that's who he's talking about. But if you happen to be talking about, I have no perspective on camps. I don't have any perspective on really low custody level stuff because of what my crimes were, and because I then screwed up and acted like an idiot when I got there and got myself into more trouble. All of my perspective on federal prison is based on FCIs and USPs. And I don't know if this guy's talking about state prison versus federal prison. So it very well may have happened. I wouldn't doubt the guy. I mean, I got no reason to. It is possible. It is absolutely possible for a white guy to take over a black prison gang. It is possible. I've not seen it, but I know high-ranking members in prison gangs who are not what you would immediately think of. Like I had friends who were white Crips, right? I knew guys that were white Crips. And that's how that is. Bob Barker is dead. Time to change the name. You know what? This is an interesting way to end this. What game show host should we change the name? Supposedly he got kidnapped and beat up after saying that. You know what? Well then. That would be a whole different animal, I guess. I don't want to see anybody get kidnapped and beat up either. I don't. But here's a really solid rule of thumb, right? Talk about things you really did. Don't talk about things that you didn't do. And chances are you're not going to have anybody showing up trying to kidnap you. Right? There are people that don't like me. I'm not gonna cater and change who I am to fit any kind of sort of a narrative, right? I seem to have a really great crew of people that watch this channel, and it probably has a lot less to do with me than it has to do with all of you. But I've never really considered myself a prison show, right? I definitely spent time there, but I'm focusing on living my best life and trying to help as many people as possible live their best life. But now you got to know I'm going over there to check out this guy's channel because I want to hear what happened with him getting, kidnapped and beat up and all this. This is kind of interesting. Might have to deep dive this thing and see what happens. So this was another live feed. We're gonna try to pack some content during this month. I hear you. I got the memos, and I understand why you guys want more content this time of year, and we're gonna do it. Okay. So, and if you haven't gotten over there and joined the Facebook group page, go ahead and do that. Right? It's one more avenue. And here's the thing. Here's one that I should never have to say, but I'm gonna say anyway. We're men and women over there, right? And we're trying to get our 5 and connect. But men, just know this, right? Very often we're talking to people who are in trauma. So if you want to reach out and to say to a lady, I would be more than happy to be a part of your 5, do it in such a way that reflects beautifully on the lifeboat, right? And by the way, I'm not saying any of you didn't. I'm just saying that it should occur to all of us that there are a lot of people on the boat who are dealing with a lot of trauma. So we got to be better, all of us. Men, women, everybody, at everything that we do. We just got to be a little bit kinder and a little bit more kid-glovey and a little bit more understanding, right? So if we're reaching out to a member of the opposite sex to say, hey, I'm here if you ever need anything, be such a gentleman that I would almost be, that I'd want to wave my statue in your face at all times. Thank you. I'm Captain Tommy. I'll see you guys later on today, all right? By the way, there's a big show coming up this week, people. Big one. Laura FM. Laura, what are you doing here, getting here at the last 10 seconds? I love Laura. If you know what, I'm going to stick around long enough so that you can put your feed up there. Can I get one of my wrenches to put Laura's feed up in the live chat, please? If you've never gone over to see Laura FM, Laura's fantastic. Laura's an artist. Like, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word. And what I mean by that is whether she's singing or walking or sitting at a table, she's an artist. Oh, you've been here the whole time. Well, I would have made such a big deal of you if you had told me in the beginning. Can one of my mods throw a Laura FM chat up there so that we can make sure that it is very, very easy for all of those here on the boat to go over and give thank you, Lord Kiss Freak. That way we can get somebody over there to toss Laura FM some love. She's one of us. All right? Okay, people. I will see you on the next one. I am Captain Tommy. It's always an honor. And I mean that. I know I'm lucky. God bless. We'll see you on the next one. No cat.